Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to our meetings tonight for Monday, January 15th. I will call the Financial Services meeting to order. First, I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. First on our agenda, I guess, this evening will be the approval of the agenda. Okay, moved by Councillor Boyles and seconded by Councillor Parker. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have emergency resolutions. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to add to the agenda, if we get enough councillors to approve it, CEBA loans. To the loans that come due this Thursday, any small business you're talking to that's involved with this would certainly consider it an emergency. So I'd like to have a chance, and the outcome I'm looking for is a letter to the Prime Minister, copy to the Minister of Finance.
Okay, so the request has been made to have that emergency resolution on the put on the agenda this evening. I guess, do we have a vote for that? We need a majority? Yes, we do. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Okay, we'll add that to the agenda. Let's add that 8E. And what was the acronym for that again? CEBA loans. Okay. Okay, perfect. Any other emergency resolutions? Okay, we'll move on. Errors and admissions or corrections to the minutes of December 18th. Any errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes of December 18th? And finally, any errors or omissions, corrections to the minutes of December 18th? Seeing none, we'll consider these minutes approved. First, we have the communication report. Any questions or comments on that this evening? Seeing none? Oh, yes, go ahead, Sue-Ann.
I just wanted to mention, it's more Adam's ball camp, but I didn't bring it to him yet, that volunteer awards are starting again this year. It's going to be the same format as last year, and we're going to put the ad out here shortly, so if anybody in their community knows, the application is going to be on the website again. This year they're adding a youth category, so volunteer of the year individual, volunteer of the year youth. So just want to let everybody aware of that and look for it. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. Okay, moving on to recreation. Is there any comments or questions on the recreation report? Any questions or comments on the recreation report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the warden's report. Any questions or comments on the warden's report? Okay, seeing none? Yes. Put on your mic, please. Thank you.
See if I can remember to turn it off. I just wanted to mention that I could have mentioned it later, I guess, but on this Thursday, January 18th, there's a special meeting being held at the library in Glasgow to do with Viola Space, and we contribute money to them. And I sit on the board there, separate from my role as council, but there's been some controversy. I'm sure some of you have heard about it. It's happening, across the country with homeless shelters. Certainly badly needed, but at some point, people don't like having them in their community because they figure it's a negative to their community. I don't think it should be seen that way, but if anybody's interested, it's at the library in Glasgow at 6 o'clock on Thursday night, and it's meant to try and draw out some of what the concerns are and see if there's some ways to deal with them. I know the town of Glasgow has been working on trying to deal with this situation for some time. because that's where it's located and that's where they're the ones that are getting the complaints. And I think we need to be supporting the people that work there and the people that are staying there, but we also need to listen to those who have concerns and see if we can deal with them. So I just wanted to mention it here tonight.
Okay, thank you, Warden Parker. Yes, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding the meeting ahead with Nova Scotia Power and the high-speed internet, I know that we've been having problems with the make-readies. Has there been any progress on that?
It's hard to say if it's progress or not. When Brian and Wayne and I met last week, we discussed that, and really there hasn't been any significant change at this time. They keep saying that we're going to have all our permits by the end of 2024. And if that's the case, they're going to have to really pick up the pace a lot. So we've had separate meetings with Nova Scotia Power within the last month, and we also had a meeting in this room with Nova Scotia Power and Provincial Department of Public Works. Keith McDonald, I believe, was here representing them, and in some cases, Nova Scotia Power is saying it's the fault of Public Works is holding them up. They could move faster, Public Works would get their work done. And Mr. McDonald replied they're going to do everything they can to work with them to help them, but he almost acted like he wasn't even aware of what their concerns were. So somewhere there's not very much communication between with Nova Scotia Power and Department of Public Works at the provincial level. So we're continuously trying to improve that by meeting with them. And is it Matt Drover? Matt Drover's a fellow that seems to be, and you'll hear his name on the radio quite a bit because he has to do with the power outages too. So we're hopeful that we're going to get somewhere. They promised to for sure when we stop in the meeting. Everything sounds good, but so far we haven't noticed any significant improvement. We have permits right now to go to River John and to do some of the side branches off of River John, but we don't have much after that, and we don't want to be held up. People are waiting for this, and we don't want to be held up any longer waiting for these permits. So we just have to keep the pressure on them, I guess.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Butler.
Madam Chair, on that particular issue, I've had it suggested to me, and I'll pass it on, that it appears that we're not getting the response that we want. That's for darn sure, and that additional pressure should be applied. And the person that we should be asking to apply greater pressure to this file is the Premier, our MLA, and that perhaps if he got more involved in this particular issue of issuing those permits, that we may get greater results.
Okay.
Okay, we can certainly try that along with what we're trying now.
Okay. Any other final questions or comments on the Warden's report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. D, transfer tax. It's in our report there. You see that we're up, I guess, significantly from last month. As I guess the Christmas season winds down and everybody's getting ready to get into their new houses for the new year. Questions or comments? Okay, move along. Taxes receivable report. See, we have still have a significant outstanding balance. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Parker.
I guess my question through you, Madam Chair, to Karen. Are we behind or ahead of where we normally are here?
We're significantly behind.
Any thoughts on why that might be? You don't have any thoughts on why that might be?
Lots of thoughts, but what I'm going to say them now.
It's quite significant as to where we were last year, so. Any other questions or comments? Taxes receivable for December 2023. Yes, go ahead, Deputy Warden Murray.
Accounts receivable, did you say?
taxes receivable.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were on the next one. Do you have a question?
Okay, I'll hold your spot. Okay. All right, we'll move on. Consider our reports not requiring a motion complete. We'll go on to 7, accounts paid, and this is for the month of December 2023. And Deputy Warden Murray, I'll let you go first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Check number 21533 and 216200. One was on the 8th and the other the 22nd. Friends of the River John Library, they paid twice in December.
They wouldn't be paid twice in December. She may have the same just name on them, but they wouldn't be paid twice for the same month.
Okay, so the date might be.
Yeah, she
Might
might
be.
have the same description on them, but they're not paid twice for the
Yeah,
same month.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Counselor Parker?
It seems almost frivolous, but why are we buying rabbit pellets?
Good question.
I will let somebody else in another department take that one.
Go ahead.
The rabbit pellets were bought for rabbits that we had to collect that were at large in the county. So they were lured to the traps with the pellets.
And what became of those rabbits?
They were all rehomed. There was 5 rabbits, I believe, in total, and we trapped them and rehomed them.
That's good. Any other questions or comments on the accounts paid for the month of December? Okay, we have a motion for that. Okay, it's moved by Counselor Parker. We have a seconder. Counselor Elliott. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to number 8, items that are requiring action this evening. 8A is the Internet Services for Community Halls. Action that council will decide if it will accept the staff recommendation that MOPC provide free internet services to community halls that have been designated as warming centers and serve as the community's broader interests. So I guess okay, so it's been moved by Councillor Thompson and seconded by Councillor Boyles. I'll open the floor up. Councillor Parker.
Well, I understand what comfort centers are, they've been designated and so on. So is there a second category here? And service to community's broader interests? Does that mean a hall that is not a warming center could qualify?
Correct. So a community hall that provides services that a normal community center would could also qualify under this for free programming.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just, if they already have internet service, Brian, would they still be able to get it through us? Like, remove what they have and get service through us?
As long as they meet the definition, yes. So
Okay.
if they're getting it, say, from TNC and they want to switch to ours, yeah, we wouldn't.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other final questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. 8B, we have municipal service grants, request for approvals. We have 2 in District 11. We have the Bridgeville Community Club in the amount of $2,000 for operating costs. And we have District 11, was that Sunny Bray? Yes, yes. $250. Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dewar, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any further comment or question on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have 2 extension requests. The information was enclosed. The first one is for District 4 for St. John the Baptist Anglican Church in the amount of $1,000 for roof repairs. And the second is District 2 Bethel Presbyterian Church in the amount of $1,700 for building repairs. Okay, it's moved by Councillor Wadden, seconded by Councillor Elliott. Any questions or comments on those? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have 8D is the sponsorship of Pictou County Chamber of Commerce Awards Banquet and AGM in the amount of $1,800. Council will decide if they want to sponsor the awards banquet and AGM. Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Wadden. We do that. Seconder? Seconded by Councillor Palmer. Any questions or comments on that? I have a quick question. Is this different from the award that we sponsor, or is this in place of, in lieu of that?
Combination of two different events. We typically do the awards banquet, and what they're basically offering is a discount if we do the AGM, which is separate from the awards banquet.
Okay,
So it's combining two into one.
combining two into one. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Yes, Councillor Boyles? No. Yes, okay.
Just curious, Madam Chair, what our total was last year. I know they want us to get a better deal here, but what was our total? At one time, we were $1,200 for the big business or large business award. Now, last year was a different award, but I don't recall the amount of money.
It's 1,500. It's 1,500 for the award.
I don't know if we were at 1,200 or
We were
more.
at 15, I think we were at 1,500 for the award, and typically it's 500 for the,
AGM, and
AGM.
we're getting a bargain with the
we're saving
300.
200.
Yeah. No, I don't have a problem with it, but is that something that we usually do at our council grants, or does it, I thought I saw it there before, but it's usually done separate or not? I thought it was a council
I
grant.
think we typically have it on the council grant that has been pre-approved. It shows on the list that
It is a council grant, but
Yeah.
it's been pre-approved.
pre-approved by council, generally before, just on timing, I guess, more so.
Okay. Okay, seeing no more hands, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we'll move on to 8E. This is the CEBA loans. It was an emergency resolution from Warden Parker, so I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if everybody knows what CEBA loans are, so I'll attempt to explain it. I'm watching that clock. You're going to tell me I've got a minute left. People are more familiar with the CERB loans. When the CERB loans were out, everybody that was working and couldn't work anymore got $500 a week. And there was no payback on it. It was simply went until government decided you wouldn't get it anymore. But and that helped a lot of people through a time when they couldn't work. Well, small businesses, they weren't eligible. The owners of those small businesses weren't eligible for CERB because they ran their own business. But so the government came up with a plan where they gave the small businesses, in most cases, $30,000 plus 10, for a total of $40,000. The 10 was a grant. The $30,000 was repayable on a certain date. I think it was the end of 22. And what happened is that many of the small businesses, and a lot of them were restaurants, a lot of them were in the tourism business, they simply had no income during that time. They used up all that $40,000 in a hurry, paying rent, paying power bills, paying whatever to stay alive. So when the time came to pay it back at the end of 22, most of them weren't in any position to pay it back, and we were going to lose all those businesses. So the government gave them a year extension with the grant still available. So come this year, still with all many of those businesses, people knew they weren't going to recover in 1 year. And so there was an ask to extend it again. And the government finally agreed to extend it, but not on the grant. They wouldn't get the grant if they couldn't pay it by the end of this year. They didn't want it come and due right at Christmas time, so they moved it to January 18th, this Thursday. But there's still a lot of businesses that aren't in a position. There's been a fair amount of them on the radio and TV in the last couple of weeks that are going to lose their businesses. Or some of them have gone out and borrowed money from the banks, and if they don't get it all paid in time, then they lose the grants again. So what's been being promoted is to have the extension the same as last year, but this would be the final year at the end of 24. But if they pay it by then they would get their grants. So what's at risk here is a lot of small businesses that simply do not have that money, so they're borrowing and hoping that they're going to be able to pay the payments. If they don't, they lose the grants. But what the ask has been is to extend for the grants as well as the payback time. So what I'm requesting is, and I'll make the motion and see if somebody will second it, to send a letter to the Prime Minister with copies to the Finance Minister, Federal Finance Minister, and to our MP, requesting that the loans be extended as they're being, and the grants also be extended to December 31st of this year, of '24. And that's the motion. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'll open the floor up to questions and comments. Go ahead, Councillor Parker.
Well, if you watch any business news or probably other news channels for the last 3+ months, there's been Merchant Bank is one of them. There's been companies on there advertising. Don't miss out. We will lend you the money to pay back your CEBA loan on time. So that effectively saves them $20,000. Most loans are $60,000 with $40,000 repayable. There's been no interest on them for the last 2.5 years. So it's a great deal for businesses, and that was the idea, is try to prop them up and help them through a tough patch. So what would effectively happen this Thursday or before, unless you're not paying attention to your business, what will effectively happen is that you can move that money, that $40,000, if you haven't paid any of it back, to a private lender. So it's going to go from a government-funded program to a private lender-funded program. Now, the one I checked, and it was that Merchant Bank, was, I think it was 5.5%, which is a pretty reasonable rate right at the moment. And they're going to have to start paying interest as of January 18th, I think. So most have either paid it back if they could, or they'll be borrowing money to save that $20,000, which is a great deal again. But I'm not going to vote against the motion. It's your money and my money that the government has given to small businesses, and to try to help them. And there will always be some that may never be able to pay it back. Their business doesn't recover to where it was pre-pandemic, or they probably weren't a good risk to begin with. But it's not the end of the world on January 18th if they're paying attention to their business. They can go tomorrow, January 16th, negotiate a loan with a private lender. And I think some of the other banks are in on this too, some of the big banks. If you have to have a viable business, they don't just throw $40,000 at you like the government did. But there is a solution for some businesses. If you have a non-viable business, the banks look at it and say, no, we're not interested in lending any money, well, then you're on the hook for it. But anyway, I will support the motion, but I want councillors to be aware that there are other possible solutions.
Okay, thank you for that information. Any other questions or comments on the CEBA loan? Go ahead.
Just in response to Councillor Parker's mention there, that I mentioned the CERB first because CERB was very fair to all the working people that were thrown out of a job because those small businesses and big businesses closed. Nobody had to pay any back. None of the small businesses that I know are asking not to have to pay it back. They're simply asking, or except for the grant part, they're simply asking for that grant part to stay in there for one more year to help them stay afloat. And also it's important to remember that many of the large businesses received bailouts at the time of COVID with no requirement to pay anything back. So small business is often referred to by many political parties as, you know, this is the backbone of our economy. It's said every election that small business is the backbone of our economy, but it doesn't appear to be that way sometimes when they actually dole the money out. Yes, they got a good deal with the interest rate and everything, but the rest got the money without ever having to pay it back, both individuals and large businesses.
Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we have number 9, motions of reconsideration. Any motions of reconsideration this evening? Okay, well, thank you very much. I will adjourn the meeting.
Pretty good, almost the record.
Okay. Like to call the financial or property service meeting to order. First, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're on the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Next is the approval agenda. My Deputy Warden, second by Councillor Dave Parker. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay. Motion carried. Next is emergency resolutions. Is there any emergency resolutions? Is there any emergency resolutions? Any emergency resolutions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Was there any errors, omissions, corrections to the minutes of December 18th? Any errors, omissions, or corrections? More time. Any errors, omissions, corrections? Seeing none, we'll consider those minutes approved. Next are reports that don't require a motion. First is the Public Works and Development Officer's report. Any questions? Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On number 2, the Salem Water Extension Project, I asked the question of our Public Works Director because I was asked by one of the media as to, and by some of the people in the community, about whether this project would continue during the winter. And I was told that yes, they were going to work right through the winter. But that doesn't seem to be the case unless something's changed in the last day or two. All of the machines went home, Ganesh or whatever, at Christmas time, and nobody's seen any since. So I'm wondering what changed. It just kind of made me look bad to put it in the media that this is the case, and then it isn't what seems to be happening unless there's a time coming when they're going to come back.
Yeah, thank you, Warden Parker. Mr. Chair, through you. That was incorrect information. I spoke with our consultant today, wondering where the contractor was, and he informed me that he had been in touch with the contractor and that the contractor plans to return in the spring, so not working through the winter, which was news to me because we had a 24-week construction schedule on this project from the date of award and the date of commencement. So I reviewed this with our consultant today, and they indicated that it's typical to stop this type of project during the winter, and we would risk the possibility of increased costs if they were to continue through the winter. So they've requested of the contractor an exact schedule for our review of when they expect to complete this project. What I understand is that the project is to be completed in the spring, and I think that we should hold the contractor's feet to the fire on that. So as of this afternoon, I'm waiting for the response from the contractor on their schedule so we can review it and confirm it, and we'll be following up with them and can follow up with this group as well. So that's the update there.
Madam Chair?
Shoot.
Oh,
This way.
Mr. Chair, that's all I got to do. Look the other way and change the turn. I'm not disappointed that they're not doing it in the wintertime. I wouldn't be doing it neither in the wintertime. The cost pretty well doubled to do something in the wintertime. But there was a lot of foot dragging took place in the fall. We could have had, I don't know when they started, mid-October or something, but we could have had late August, September, and it could have been done quite easily. That's when the foot dragging took place, and it just didn't seem to be moving for at least 2 months. But also just not getting the correct information. So I'm handing that information on to the media, and then the people are reading it there and say, oh no, it says here that they're going to continue right through the winter. I think even the people in Salem know that it's not a great time to be working with underground and stuff. It's when you get the wrong information, you put it out there publicly, that's what bothers me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. No, and I do apologize for that. The information that I had been given previously was that work would continue unless there was specific weather hindrances, whether it's a storm, ice, or extreme cold, but that was incorrect information. Thank you.
Okay. See further questions for the Director of Public Works? Seeing none, we'll move on to Development Officer's Report. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. Not so much in the permit application one, but in the subdivision process, it seems to be lacking civic numbers and the detail for District 4 in every report. And without the civic numbers, it's really, the information is, you can't tell what's going on anywhere because it's very vague. If you say where it is in place without a civic number, it could be almost anywhere. And I just wanted to know because it's not only this report, in the past, it's always lacking that in District 4.
Thank you, Councillor. When a subdivision is completed without a civic address, or without a structure existing on site, it's not given a civic number. So we see in your district and some other districts a lot of subdivisions coming through that don't have structures on them. So that could be part of the reason why you're not seeing that. Whether or not there's a different method to provide some sort of a descriptor that makes it clearer where these are located, we could look at that.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on to Emergency Services Report. Any questions for Evan? Seeing none, we'll move on. Fire Inspector's Report. Well, everybody's... Councillor Turner.
Maybe it's just me, and I have real trouble reading this. It's very blurry. So, okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think, we're playing with some new formatting in this new system, and it started originally with a white background. He clearly went with a darker one. We're just trying to find really what works best to present to council, so just bear with us for a bit. We'll work on a new iteration of this.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on. Building Inspector, Inspection Report. Questions? Okay, next is Bylaw Officer's Report. Got off, or easy this month. God. Okay, we'll move on. Items requiring action. 7A, Coalburn McClellan's Water Project Design. Logan, would you want to refresh everybody there?
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we want to provide this as information to this group, a review and recommendation of award for the McClellan's Coalburn Water Extension Design Project. We had tendered this back in June of last year. We received 3 bids, as indicated, one from Straight Engineering, one from CBCL, and one from WSP. I was satisfied with the quality of the bids that were received. I confirmed with each bidder their comprehension of the project, the specific challenges that may be encountered, and reviewed them for their quality and points First is our rubric that we provided in our tender documents. And upon that review, provided a recommendation to go with Straight Engineering Limited, which was the low bid and also ranked well with points versus available points. And happy to take any questions related to this.
Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just a little confused when I read these. I'm in favor of what the recommendation is, but the third one, I get like SEL's is pretty clear. They got all the figures in there. I was surprised that one CBCL was so much higher, but then the WSP just, they've actually got the lowest for the design services, I think, but there's just a blank on those other, on two, geotechnical and construction phase. Did that have any effect on who it was granted to? The fact that should those have been filled in with any amount, or because otherwise they're lower than SEL on I think no they're lower on the total, but it's only because they haven't included some of the numbers that SEL included. Was it required to fill all four in or just two?
I think if we could go back, we would make some changes to the way this tender was done. But in reviewing these three options, we did review apples to apples. WSP had a very strong bid, and we did request them to provide, we've since requested them to provide geotechnical and construction phase services unit pricing. Even with that unit pricing, I would anticipate they'd be higher in price than Straight Engineering. And I mean, even the construction phase services, if you see the assumptions for the construction phase period, I think if we were to do this again, we would put in a nominal number of weeks of anticipated construction schedule and then ask for a unit amount per week, just so that we have equivalent comparisons across the board. I think regardless, Straight Engineering is going to end up, even if you added a nominal amount for the geotechnical services on WSPs and then some construction phase services, looking at the unit rates that were provided by WSP, I think they'd be much, above the price of Straight Engineering. I'm very satisfied that Straight Engineering would complete the work with good quality and for the best price.
But through you, Mr. Chair, there wasn't a requirement then for WSP to fill in those two blanks?
No, geotechnical was something that was raised by the bidders themselves, and they included them as optional items or anticipated
So both
items.
of those are optional?
Yeah, so Straight Engineering was a $30,000 allowance for geotechnical services, and they indicated that whatever geotechnical services were actually required by their geotechnical subconsultant would be subtracted off. So we would see the savings. If it cost $15,000, you'd only see $15,000 in the geotechnical services budget, not the $30,000 that was included. The difference here is that CBCL completes geotechnical services themselves, so they were able to give exact pricing for that work. And for the construction phase services, it's based primarily on the unit rates that they provided, which we did get from the different bidders. And if you extrapolate what we had for WSP onto the numbers that were provided by Straight Engineering, we would have lower amounts with Straight Engineering. Does that answer your question?
We've used CBCL a lot in the past. I was just surprised to see the difference, how much higher they were than the other two.
I was too, and I discussed it with them as well, and they included significantly more advanced modeling, which I don't think is required for this project, reviewing it. That's a specific reason why I contacted Straight Engineering and talked through their process of modeling. Because we're dealing with two completely different pressure zones, one in Priestville, which includes a booster station, and one in McClellan's Brook that is more directly tied to the Forbes Lake system. We wanted to make sure that they would be able to do the hydraulic analysis and ensure that that they could merge those two pressure zones. And upon my discussions with Straight Engineering, I'm satisfied that they could do that. But CBCL had significantly more in terms of the modeling for hydraulic analysis than the other firms do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Thompson?
I move we accept the tender on the advice of our engineer for straight engineering. Make that a motion. $251,180 total bid price.
Seriously? Moved and seconded. So any questions?
Just on that, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
How long will this take to get up and running? So we can get this designed and hopefully have something to tender soon.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Councillor. Mr. Chair, through you. I did review that with the bidders, and Straight Engineering had indicated that they would be able to start their work immediately, and it would probably take in the order of 3 or 4 months to complete the design phase work.
Okay. Anything further? Councillor Daypar?
Oh, thank you. These people don't stop working because it gets hot in the summer, do they?
These people do not. They like working when there are no trees and when there's hopefully bare ground, but they can work in the snow as well. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
I was being facetious.
Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay. Motion carried. Next is bylaw restrictions regarding vacant properties. Councillor Boyles.
Yeah, I got a call from the fire chief out in Lynacy, Bruce Young, and tell me about 2 properties that was just, the people walked out of them. Doors wide open, windows open, shed doors open. It's, I guess, the full of cats, and it's just, it's something that kids could walk down and get into, or that, anyone could get in around there, even somebody with dementia or something, walk on the road, go in there, they turn around and mean they could be killed. So when I get a hold, of Evan to see what could be done, he was telling me that their hands are tied. They go there, they see it's a dangerous, site. They know that what can happen and how dangerous it is, but they can't do nothing about it. They got to go all through this stuff. And I was thinking maybe we could hear from Eben just what's going on, and they should be given some kind of authority on something like that we just board it up and put it on their tax bill or something, because this is putting people in danger. So.
Sure, I'd be happy to take that question. So I guess to provide a little feedback on, or a little direction on how I take these complaints. So I would start by taking the complaint, looking at the nature of the complaint and who I think would be best to respond out to look at it. So whether that's by law enforcement for dangerous and unsightly, or whether it's Jason under the Fire Safety Act. And oftentimes with situations like those, Councillor Boyles, it's actually better to send the fire inspector because he's got a broader range of authorities. So once we do that and I determine who was best, and in this case it was the fire inspector, he went out the day of the call. He agrees with the chief and yourself, and so do I for that matter, about these homes being left vacant. However, moving forward from that, it's been our protocol in the past to do a title search, make sure we know who owns these properties, make sure we're reaching out to the people who own the properties, and actually ordering them to secure the buildings. And if they fail to do so within a prescribed time, we would go out, perform the work, and charge it back on taxes. So that's sort of, I guess, the list of things that we would go through to secure these properties. And I would say the quickest you're going to see from complaint to actual securing, if we have to do, it's probably in the range of 6 to 7 weeks by the time we get our title searches back and do the order, give the people, the residents, time to go and do the work themselves before we go out and do it. So that's been our procedure in the past.
Yeah, so that's why to me, when we're putting our residents and our children and our animals and no matter who in danger, I mean, if you guys could really see the place, you'd understand what we're talking about. There should be no question. It should be whenever they get the call, they go out, they just throw the stuff on her and board her up and put it on the tax bill, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, why did they walk away and leave it? I think with one of the residents, I think you were saying that they don't give a darn, you know, and this is terrible. But yet people could get hurt. So I think we got to change our bylaw or something to turn around and give more power that when they go, they see this, they know it's a danger, they know it's something that could end up hurting children or old people, anybody, that they could turn around and go ahead and have the jurisdiction to board it up and just put it on the tax bill.
Okay. Warden Parker.
I don't disagree with, if I had property in my area that looked like what they're talking about, that I would want the thing boarded up as quickly as possible, but what are we allowed to do under the law if it belongs to Joe Blow? And are we allowed to board it up ourselves and then bill that taxpayer or whatever, that resident? You know, what are we legally allowed to do, and is there any way that we can get that period, that time period changed from 6 to 7 weeks to say 2 weeks even? You know, I don't know if that's possible or not, but I know the owner should be given the first opportunity to do that, but in a short enough period of time that it's not gonna, we're gonna have a major mishap someday, maybe because it was left open. What's possible?
Sure. So, I guess the 6 to 7 week timeline, that includes a 30-day period in there where we would issue the order. They have 30 days to comply with securing the property. So that's been the procedure we've used in the past. That doesn't mean that we can't do, say, a 2-week order or shorten that length down, should that be the wishes here. The other option I guess we would have is there is some speech in the MGA about dangerous unsightly properties, but to act immediately on a property, and maybe Brian could speak a little bit better to this, but I do believe we've received legal counsel regarding these, and it's a very high threshold to take immediate action on properties without notifying the homeowner and just going out and doing it. So yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, the threshold is high. The notion that someone might go on the property isn't really a valid argument, I guess. Many things can happen in a course, so the threshold is high. So it would have to be, there's documented, like people are entering the facility. We had that similar on a dangerous and unsightly that we tore down in Coalburn, where it was the property was in rough shape, but the notion that somebody might enter it isn't the threshold that the law looks at. Take things, so you need to be able to document that there is that imminent threat. Somebody has gone in, somebody, so that's kind of where the law kind of comes down. As Evan said, like, we can try and shorten the time frame. Typically our title searches are back within 10 days of request, type thing. So we can certainly try and shorten it, but
Okay. Warden Parker.
I think that might be our only option here. If the law is might, by the time some little child or whatever, something terrible happens, well, we only thought it might happen, so we didn't do anything, but I doubt if we're gonna be able to change that law. But if we can, the best we can do maybe is to shorten that time. If our people here, including Evan and our fire inspector and whatnot, go out along with the counselor and see that, yeah, this should be looked after, then if we could have staff bring back something with a shorter period of time in it, so their hands aren't quite as tied, just to be one hand tied behind your back, but not both. So that'll help some. I hate to see for us to leave some of these things that are very obviously dangerous for too long a period of time. And the chance that something could happen is enough for me to want to do something about it, not have to wait till it does happen. Thank you.
Do you want to make a motion? Or?
I would make a motion that we ask staff to prepare policy or whatever to shorten that period of time from the time it's first notified until the time it gets boarded up, to shorten that period of time.
Is there a second? Second? Okay, Councillor Boyle.
Yeah, the only thing that really bothers me here, and I hope it don't come back to bite us in the arse, excuse my language, but anyway, is the fire chief came to me on a weekend. He was that concerned. Their big concern, this is a changing world. This isn't the world we used to grow up in. You got the people that looking for a place to go do their dope and their you know, to any place at all. They don't care as long as they can get it in and do it. And that's what Bruce was really worried about, that we're going to have this happening down there. We're going to have a fire. Once there's a fire, you got them people that's in there. Also, you got your fire department landing there. They don't even know what's there. They got a shed. There's a shed there. You know, it's full of stuff. They got the house. It's just rambled with stuff. And we're sending our fire departments in there now that we could end up having firemen hurt in that. Because why? Because turn around and it's an old, outdated law that I think we should be turning around and trying to talk to the people in justice or something to say, come off it. Them old laws are no good. I mean, we got to protect our people. And to me, it's ludicrous that that we can't do something. This don't make sense to me.
Okay, anybody else? There's a motion on the floor. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Counter nay. Motion carried. Next, $5 fee at Pictou County Solid Waste. Councillor Boyles.
Excuse me. Coming my time to talk. Well, years ago, I guess when I first became a councillor, Brian told me that, you know, we could take up to 3 bags of garbage to the dump every day if we wanted to, that the county pays the $5 for that to happen, as long as it's within a certain weight. And we put it in our newsletter. We told people about this. But yet, there's people being charged $5 from the county. When they go out, they turn around and because the new ones don't understand that that's there. They think the only time that you can do that is if you miss garbage day, or if it's, you know, I don't know what, when I talked to them the other day, I asked them, did they get a memo or anything on this? And because I talked to Sue about, you know, getting a hold of Earl and getting something so that this was known. When I talked to the fellow that was there, he's sort of one of the higher ups with Earl there. He turned around and, oh God, he says, no, we just talked about that this morning, he said. And he said, it's going to take a month, he said, for us to turn around and be able to deal with something like that. How does it take a month to deal with a policy that's already there? That don't make sense to me. I mean, if the policy's there, the policy's there. Tell them this is the policy, let them know what the policy is. If people live in the county and they give their civic address, they can take up to so much weight in each day. But to be charging them too and us paying for it, there's something desperately wrong.
Right.
So the $5 fee is typically charged to anyone that enters the landfill site up to a maximum of 50 kilograms. The council here years ago said that fee should be waived for the MOPC residents. It doesn't include recycling. Anyone who passes through the gate is charged $10 a bag for recycling, because the intent is that the curbside recycling is the way to go, because there's an unlimited amount that you can put out at curbside, so there is a fee for recycling. The program is well used at the landfill. So far this year, there's 3,000 vehicles have not been charged. The yes, the fiscal would be the fiscal year, compared to 2,400 for the total last fiscal. So we're up 600 cars and still basically have a quarter to go. The people have to identify that they are from the municipality going in, same way with the voucher program. You have to identify when you go in. They can't change it on the way out. It's complicated. The landfill over the last number of years has become very popular and very busy. They deal with between 200 to 400 cars a day. That's a significant increase in traffic there. The gate staff are aware of the policy, and there have been instances where MOPC residents have been charged the $5 fee when they have not told the staff that they're from the municipality.
I see.
The other part of this was the council of the day, when we put this program in, basically did not do broad advertising on the program. It's more something a little more organic, common knowledge for county residents, because it's not a free service. At the end of the day, we're paying the $5 where the other municipal units, the residents, actually pay. So those were the points that we did check with the landfill, but the big thing is if it's not identified when you go in, they can't reverse it on your way out. It's too time consuming, and they have lineups of cars there now.
Councillor Dave Parker.
I visit the landfill site regularly, and they always charge me more than $5. But I don't identify myself as being from the municipality either. I think it's a good program. I think we probably should put a blurb in the upcoming news and views that says this is how it works. That the hassle for the staff at the gate, and I find them very pleasant and accommodating, is, and then we don't want it to be abused by residents of the towns, but it easily could be. Oh yeah, I'm from the county. Well, where are you from? You know, but that's the only fly in the ointment that I see. That's just going to cause, it's going to slow things down, because they're going to have to verify that you're from Hardwood Hill, or you're from White Hill, or you're from Green Hill. If you're not from a hill, you don't get it. But seriously, they are busy there. There's almost always a lineup of a couple vehicles waiting to get weighed in and waiting to get weighed out. So we don't want to weigh them down or slow them down with a lot of rigmarole for the sake of $5. Thank you.
Okay. Warden Parker.
I think what Councillor Boyles brought up here is that some people are being told to pay the $5, and maybe it just needs to be made clear to, maybe there might be new people, I don't know what all the reasons are, but it appears that we have a policy that allows, for $5 a bag to be exempted, and that we are paying for it. There's no free ride here. The council of the day, and I'm not sure how long ago it was put in, I remember when Councillor McMaster was with us, pounding the table a few times about the, garbage and landfill and whatnot, but it may have been put in at that time. But of course, the more you promote it, the more usage you get, and you're already up by a lot of bags. I don't know what our cost would be per year for those 3,000 bags, but 15? Yeah. So, I suppose you should get them out. I haven't got my machine. Anyway, I know why he's bringing it up, because some people had a problem, but I think we just need to remind the people that run the landfill or on his crew, to watch for it. But I do want to say that I go into the landfill to sign checks every 2 weeks, and it's very well run, in my opinion, overall. This is a blip, but I mean, overall, that place is clean. You kind of expect sometimes you go to a place where they're taking garbage and all the rest of the stuff to be stuff blown around and whatnot. It isn't. And it's also very user-friendly. They've got places with the garbage you can back right in and put it into different containers, and they keep them moved around, quickly once they fill. And if you have cardboard or styrofoam, there's a special place for that to go, or all kinds of other special places for things. I think we're lucky in this county, and some other counties I know have very, very good ones as well, but we have a well-run landfill that, is run quite efficiently on budget, and I think we're lucky to have that, because if we didn't have that, a lot of this stuff would be in the woods somewhere. So I think we have to remember that. When I go in, I see all those truckloads or carloads and trailers of stuff. Where would all that stuff be if we didn't have a landfill, And so I think we don't want to put a bad name on the landfill, but I also realize why Councillor Boyles is bringing it up.
Okay. Councillor Boyles.
Yeah, and that's the thing, they're great staff out there that you're in, and they I can't say nothing about them. I mean, usually the two girls are on the gate, and they're very good, but they don't know, they didn't know this. They turned around and told me right down that they thought it was if you missed garbage or something, that you turn around and if you missed your garbage, then you could take it there. And and then for them, the higher up to say that, it's going to take us a month to fix that up. How does it take a month when you just put a memo up that turns around and says just what we said? And to just Dave's thing there when they said about the, people come in from other places. Why don't they check their license? When you go in, you turn around, you show them your license says right on it, your address. So if you got an address from the county, bingo. If you don't, you're out of luck.
Just to that point, though, the person coming into the landfill has to be the one to initiate that first, right? They have to say that I'm from the county, and then here's my ID. So, but once they get in and they come back out, then you can't you would be charged $5. So.
But usually what happens is this is what it happened. It happened to me myself. You turn around, you pull up, you got a couple of bags, you're going away someplace, I'll run it, take it off, drop it the landfill. Like, you go in, oh, you missed the garbage truck? No, it didn't miss the garbage truck, but that's what they think, It's just a lousy memo saying, okay, just what we talked about, what is covered, what's not covered. Bingo, it informs them and everybody's happy.
You were talking to Earl today, were you? And Earl's notified his staff.
Staff are aware of
Staff
what
are
the
aware, so.
process should
Well,
be.
Hopefully it doesn't happen, but they're notified now, so.
And they said too was, it was funny, I had to laugh a little way because I didn't know it myself, but if somebody from Pictou Landing went in and said, they're from Pictou Landing, they might think they're talking about the reserve. If they're talking the reserve, they're not in on the program. So that's what I was told, that the reserve is not in on the program. It's just the, it's Pictou Landing is, but not the reserve.
Is that the case, Brian? Or?
I don't know if that's... Yeah, because Pictou Landing they're under contractual service. The First Nations has a contract with Pictou County Solid Waste for collection. So
the staff should know if they're from Pictou Landing or for the First Nations. Anyway.
I'm willing to bet that if they're not being that picky with it, because I'm not sure they're checking IDs. If you say you're from Pictou Landing, I think they're accepting that you're from Pictou Landing, and not distinguishing.
That's where it all started. Somebody from Pictou Landing was turned down and made pay $5. And then he came to me, he said, how come I had to pay $5? I thought you said it didn't cost anything. I said, don't. But that's what they told me. The excuse was that like he thought he was talking about the reserve, and the reserve's not covered.
Okay. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. We'll move on. Community announcements. Is there any community announcements? Councillor Thompson.
Just want to give a shout out to the Ladies Auxiliary at the Plymouth Fire Department. They applied for and received a small grant from Community Links. They're going to be hosting a number of non-profit groups from around Pictou County, a lot of members, doing a food handling course this Saturday. So there'll be from community halls right around, and the purpose of the funding for the program was, the idea came from Joanne Cumminger. She was with the Plymouth Ladies Auxiliary. The fundings for the course, along with the cost to get your certificate and all that good stuff. So it's good opportunity for them, and if it works well this time, there might be a second round somewhere if they can find some funding.
That's good. Anybody else? Seeing none. Is there any motions of reconsideration? Seeing none. I'll call the meeting adjourned. Safe. Yeah, good.